Hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to the show. This show is, I don't know what it's called anymore, but welcome to John Henry Soto Presents with George Batista, presenting things that we talk about. Welcome aboard, everyone. Hope you're all doing well out there. It is Sunday night. We've had an adventurous time here in Nashville. For all of those out there watching in Nashville, Tennessee, we had an ice storm which is I've spoken to people that have been here for 20 plus years and have never seen anything like it. It was an incredible thing. The trees were weighed down by and they were beautiful, but they were weighed down and started exploding and cracking and falling on stuff, and it took the city out. We still have, as of last check, it might be different now. We still had 80,000 people that were without power, and the schedule for them to get power has been posted, and it looks like we're going to have like another couple of weeks of people with no power. The school system shut down for the whole week. There was no school last week, and now there's still a couple of schools that are shut down. My wife is a teacher. She's going to be at school tomorrow, but it's a late start with no students, so no students tomorrow either. So we don't know what the reason also is that it's the cold weather has not gone away, so the ice has just stayed. And in Tennessee, the drivers here are not, school buses and everything. The infrastructure is just not set up for that, and that's one of the reasons why it's kind of stopped the city from from moving. But we are back, and we did get power. We lost power for about, I want to say, maybe 6-7 hours or something. We started a fire. We have a fireplace, so we had food. We cooked on the fire. We were fine. My family and I, thank God, and friends, and we've been blessed by. But a lot of friends of mine, actually, I even offered my house to a couple of people. I said, hey, if you can get to where I live, you can stay here. You crash on our floor. Bring a sleeping bag or something, and you can crash here. We got heat and food and light. But yeah, it's been pretty crazy. So, but anyway, we are back here, and on that note of crazy things happening, I'll just talk real briefly about what's happening with this show that we've been trying to kind of like get off the ground. But apparently, uh, we've hit territory that is a no-no for either for someone that's reporting us or for YouTube themselves. They have not allowed. We had a site, a web page called Boldly Gone on YouTube, a YouTube page, channel, I should say, and it was taken down twice now. It was 2 times it's been taken down. So I don't know if it has to do with the fact that it's called Boldly Gone, and it's not, because we don't call it that anymore. It's just the John Henry Soto Show. So this right here, where we're going to tell stories about certain episodes of Star Trek and relate them to the world. We thought that was fun. We did 15 episodes at the beginning of this whole journey, and it went really well, and we had a lot of fun. And then we kind of veered to different directions, and now we wanted to come back. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to, but we are going to still do episodes like that. We're just not going to be able to name it anything, and it's going to have to go on just my channel and see how long that actually lasts us here in the world of YouTube. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in, for joining us. And again, we're going to have to change all this. So we're just going to go back to, there you go.
Hey,
Maybe this one. Maybe a little picture.
nice. I hope your channel's okay if we do some of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, it's just, we're just talking about stuff, and it's really related to this episode that we really liked about Star Trek. It's not related to Star Trek. We don't have any relations to anything Star Trek. We're not being paid by anything in Star Trek. Actually, you know what? Let me take this one down, because this one has only that on the top there. So, but it's one of those things where we just are passionate about things that we want to talk about, and unfortunately, it goes into this realm. So anyway, as of right now, welcome to the show. It's Sunday night, John Henry Soto Show with George Batista. Every Sunday night, we're here at 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we appreciate you being here with us. Good evening, George. Those
Good
were
evening,
my.
sir. You know, it's interesting because when we did those 15 episodes, there was no issues with it, right?
No.
no issues with it. So just it's just very curious. It's very weird.
It is
Um,
weird. It is weird, and I don't know. I don't know why. What was the one specific thing? I did research some stuff. There was some stuff that was called boldly gone. So maybe I think maybe they reported it or something, but there was nothing
but you would think that there would be a warning in place or something.
like when I
Hey,
created, right? That there's one already in
right.
place, but maybe it's just slightly different. Maybe I think they had the boldly gone podcast, and maybe
Yeah, but I'm saying that even you. I mean, it's the literally the account was terminated. It's not
right,
like it was. It's not like they gave you a warning. It's not like they gave you a
right.
strike,
No, it
right?
was
You know,
terminated.
there were people that were talking about things 4 or 5 years ago on YouTube where they got strikes.
Yeah,
My channel, which is still in existence, knock wood, um, got two ended up with I think two strikes because they took two videos down because of things that interviews that I had. Okay, but the
right,
channel itself still going.
right.
So what's interesting about that is we put up what 4 or 5 episodes all together because I put up a couple of the old ones, and the account completely gets terminated.
Yeah, it wasn't even no warning. And
No
did you get an
warning, no
email
nothing.
about it?
I got nothing.
Wow.
Literally, the only reason I know because I clicked on the because I have it as a favorite, and I clicked on the link, and it asked and it asked me to sign in, and when I searched it and I look and it gave me that thing that I sent you, and then I
Yeah,
was like, okay,
I know. I saw it and I was like, "What is this for?" And so,
it's
yeah,
wild.
unfortunately, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That is where we're dealing with right now. You know, there's so many sides to this. You know, we can't. It's not our platform, right? And you know, I do know AI is giving us the ability to do a lot of amazing things right now, and the future looks brighter for those that dive in and learn early and can figure it out. Create your own platform and all those things. You know, I know it's not going to be the monster that YouTube is, you know, because they're number one. They're the second search engine out of all is YouTube, you know, next to Google. But I think that they're really right now at a uh, people are starting to create other platforms, other ways of streaming. We're seeing so many different changes. It's right now the wild, wild west. You know, hi Susan, Suzanne. Thank you very much. Hope you had a good day too. It's just giving us a vast look into the future of what's the possibility of the future, and I think that can scare certain things. You know, and
Yeah.
we're starting. You know, my channel, and I've been. You know, I know people say there's no such thing as shadow banned, or at least some of the platforms say that there is no such thing. That's a lie. It's a clear lie. It's been proven already to be a lie for a lot of them. And unfortunately, there's nothing really we can do about it. We need, the platforms are not owned by us. You know, they created the platforms. And if I was out here, if George and I were out here about how to prepare chicken, and we had like 20 ways of preparing chicken, and we were into cooking, and we were into, light vanilla content, as we call it, we'd be fine, but sometimes George and I we veer off into territory that's a little shaky for these platforms. They can't take it. Their knees buckle, when we're talking about this. So, but as I always say, we gather here really weekly to celebrate stories, celebrate different philosophies. We celebrate humanity. We celebrate uh, thoughtful conversation, curiosity, and that's what we talk about. And that's our the platform, and the bottom line of what we create here has to do with those things, and that is pretty much it. And when you're curious, when you have curiosity as your guide, that's what really guides you into rocky waters, because those waters are controlled by very powerful entities that have these platforms pretty well policed. And if they think that you're coming in and to rock their boat, they're going to sink yours.
Right.
And George and I have been underwater now twice with this venture, and we're not going to do it anymore because we don't own the rights to Star Trek. I got that. But if you go out there right now, there are so many platforms that literally their whole content, everything they post has to do with Star Trek. Everything. Not one thing has not, it's just Star Trek and things related to Star Trek. But the difference is they have thousands and thousands of followers already. So they're producing an income. So that means that they are generating an income for the platforms like YouTube and that. And it's not the case. So when you're starting out, and they don't care about losing you. That's a piece of cake for them. Like you going away is nothing. But these other platforms, it's dollar signs, it's money. They're losing, so they leave them on there. That's why there's people out there talking about crazy things that we're like, how can they even get away with talking about this? Things that the last 5 years, things that you couldn't talk about. The things you can't talk about. I can't even say them even in jest here. You know what I mean? But they're out there and they seem to be hanging tight. Why? Because you look at their numbers. They're generating an income for the platforms, so they don't get touched. George and I pulled the plug right away, quick, because there was nothing coming in. We were just starting. We had how many videos up there? 5, 6 videos.
Something like 5 at least. Something like
and
that.
it's nothing to them. Very, very little. So unfortunately, that's where we are right now. And but we are going to talk a little bit about the content. We're going to talk a little bit about. I think I want to talk about this episode. That this episode was really a lot of fun. It was a great episode, and it has a lot to do with life and looking back and reminiscing. And it was a great episode. So I'm going to turn it over to George for a little bit, and George, you can give us a little bit of the synopsis of the episode, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, I just want to say, first of all, in terms of Next Generation and writing an episode, to me, again, I know, John, you like Deep Space Nine, but to me, Next Generation, just if I go episode for episode, had the most original type of episodes, in my opinion, as far as like what they did with them and how, where they went and stuff like that. I really enjoyed them. And this one particularly was, I've watched this one probably 20 times.
Yeah.
And it still fascinates me. I think the concept is really good. So just the premise of the show itself is the Enterprise encounters this probe, and they don't know what this probe is. It's in space, and the probe somehow kind of injects this beam or whatever it is into Captain Picard's mind and literally like knocks him out. And when Captain Picard wakes up, he's in another life. He literally is, like in this life, he's married and he's, he's on another, he's on a planet, and there's different people there. It's nothing to do with anything with space or the Enterprise or anything. He's literally living another life.
Yeah.
And he lives this life literally. I mean, how many years did he go through? Because he ends up having kids, and he ends up, living this entire life. Yeah, grandkids. I mean, you talk about 30
he becomes a very I have a little thing written here that I can give a little bit of that. Just throughout the episode, Picard adapts to his new life, becoming a respected member of the Catan community. That's where he actually lives.
Right.
He marries a woman named Aline, and they have 2 children together. As he grows older, Picard witnesses gradual decline of Catan's environment due to a dying sun. So I'll stop there. But that's sort of like the foundation of where he is right now. And he doesn't know. He knows who he is or who he was.
Right.
And so he starts contemplating so many different things. Like, is he in a dream now?
And that was what I was gonna. That's the thing I was gonna say. Like for those of you who haven't seen the actual episode, you'll know it right away. Think of the concept of when you had this vivid dream, and that you absolutely knew you were there. right? And the emotions and the feelings and the sensations and everything that's in that dream. And you felt like the dream went on, right? Because it could have been different scenes in your dream. You could have gone to different places in your dream, right? And all of a sudden you wake up and you're like, holy cow, that
Yeah.
dream felt so
Yeah,
real.
emotions are there. You
Right,
feel it.
exactly.
You wake up sometimes like shaking because of whatever the emotions that you were feeling there.
Right.
Um, yeah, and that's his. That's how real it was to him. And by the way, just to for those of you who don't watch Star Trek or anything, this is a standalone episode
Yeah. Yeah. It
that you
could be a
can
great, it
watch.
could be a movie.
Yeah, you don't have to necessarily be a Star Trek fan necessarily to understand the this episode. And that's one of the things, and that's what I was going to say to defend, because I do like Deep Space Nine. Not the best. I mean, I like Deep Space Nines because of the way it's been structured, and
Right.
it is episodic. It is,
Yeah.
it is a standalone series that from beginning to end has a whole arc to it.
Mhm.
The whole episode, where Star Trek Next Generation has episodes like this one that really are standalone episodes, and there's
Yes.
a lot of them like
Right.
that in the Next Generation, as well as in Voyager has a lot of that as well. Although Voyager had one overall thing of getting back home, but within that world, they did have a lot of different episodes that were standalone episodes. So that's why this episode stands out so great. It was shot really well. I thought that the direction was really really good, and I was trying to find to punch up because I had the director here, but for some reason it didn't print out on my little sheet here. So why don't you just talk a little bit?
But what I liked about it also was that the the concepts in terms of what they gave Captain Picard were things that in his real life that he didn't deal with. So, for example, Captain Picard was known for not really liking children, not wanting to, never having children, and not knowing that whole relationship with the parent and the child and all this, that type of stuff, because his number one thing was the Enterprise and being a
Right,
captain and being a ship, and that was his life, right?
right,
And in this episode, not only did he have a wife, because Picard didn't have a wife at all as well, but he ends up having to actually be a parent and learning how to be a parent, learning how to make those decisions as a parent, which he would have never thought that he would have had, and then even a grandparent, So I thought that was interesting and very well written in terms of how he's trying to, because if you remember in the beginning when he's going through when he first gets there, he's realizing, okay, there's something wrong. I got to get out of here. I got to get back to my ship. And then there comes a point where he kind of just settles down and he says, I'm here. This is my life. And, he kind of settles in,
yeah,
and he comes to the realization that he's not going anywhere.
yeah. I mean, at some point, he's got to realize, I guess this is it. There's no
Right.
way he can't get out. There's nowhere to go. There's no technology.
Right.
It's a very, a limited technology town. It's a very rural, looks like a very rural city. It almost looks like a city in old Greece or something, or old Italy, and so their technology and it's not advanced. So the Inner Light was directed by Peter Lauritsen,
Yeah.
and written by Morgan Gendel and Peter Allen Fields, as also was a co-writer. Now, Peter Lauritsen was a longtime producer in the Star Trek
Yes.
franchise.
Yes. He's one of those guys that's been there for a long time.
Yeah, and so he made this is his first directing debut.
Interesting.
So yeah, so his directorial debut was on this episode, and so it was Morgan was conceived with the original idea, and he was credited for the story.
Mm.
But the script was actually written by Morgan and Peter Allen Fields.
Okay.
Yeah, so a great episode. I mean, a lot of people think, well, this is Star Trek television or something, and I always say that to people. I was like, man, you're missing it, man. The first of all, the performances were top notch. I
Yes.
mean, no one
Yes.
gets better than Picard. You know what I mean. I mean Patrick Stewart. No
Right.
one is better than Patrick Stewart as an actor. He's one of the top actors that's ever lived, and
Yeah.
he created this character with such uh, realness, with
Yeah.
such conviction. That you always believed him.
Yes.
And that's the thing about these captains. Um, in Star Trek, that they were the conviction that they had behind these characters was so strong that they sucked you in.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, what was missing a little bit with some of the newer stuff that came out. Then some of the newer stuff, I think, had more like, hey, look at me, I'm in Star Trek.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
sort of like, I'm wearing the uniform and everything, and here we're playing Star Trek.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that has to do with bad casting or bad writing or just the times, whatever it is, or maybe whatever. But I just think that people really, you need to give it a chance on some of episodes like this, because it really does elevate your respect for it if you're an actor, and if you're a a director. Some of the episodes were directed very, very, and written. Some of the
Yeah.
directing and the writing was really fantastic. So anyway, that's just a little.
Yeah. You brought up something that I thought was that I didn't really think about. These actors, when you look at Patrick Stewart, William Shatner, Avery Brooks, right? You look at what's her name,
Theater,
Janeway,
top of the line.
top of the line actors, right? They were so believable in these things. They lived it. They just convinced you. And this is why you get sucked into these shows, because you're literally transported into that whole thing, and they do that. And I think you're right. I think that's what's missing today. I
Yeah,
think not that the guys who aren't doing it today aren't decent actors. John just disappeared there.
yeah,
Uh,
I'm here.
aren't decent actors, but I think that they're missing that thing that Star Trek had back in those days.
Yeah, and I also think, you can still hear me, right?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay. I also think that let's see if that comes out. I also think that a lot of times that these actors, remember, these actors were not very well known.
Yes. Right.
They were not very well known. So, oh, come on. So, I don't know why this is happening, but again, I've been having a hell of a time when the power went out, and then the ice storms, and there's stuff. But right anyway, I won't go into all that. But we have a power line that's right next to the house here, that ripped off section of the house here, and it's hanging down. So we're low on the on the repair list for any
Sure.
Nashville electric service. So they're not going to be coming anytime soon. Things are a little shaky. But anyway, um, these actors were not household names.
Correct.
I mean, I think maybe Enterprise. He was popular on that show.
Scott Bakula. Yeah.
Yeah, back, yeah, for the Quantum Leap.
Quantum Leap. Yep.
But other than that, these guys were pretty unknown.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of brought this element of like, we don't know this guy, we don't
Right.
know this girl, we don't know her. So we believe them even more. And the fact that they brought to the table such conviction
Hmm.
and such training, because these were highly trained actors. These were
Right.
not stars. You know what I mean? Like, these were actors first. You become an actor, and then you become famous if you're lucky, right? Or you become a working actor.
Hmm.
These were working actors.
Yes.
And once they were working, they had no idea that what they were going to run into. They got this audition. Patrick Stewart didn't unpack for like the first 2 seasons. He didn't really even get a house or anything, because he just thought this is going to go away,
Hmm.
and not sure of anything. And obviously it's history. But yeah, I think that's what what you brought up. I think it's missing today. I think today they're looking for a name. As a matter of fact, I'm involved in this little project. I'm sort of involved, but I'm reading the script that the director sent me, and so he wants me to be involved in some way. And he's saying, well, in order for us to bring it to the table for funding and all that stuff, we need a name. We need somebody. We don't need an A lister, but we need at least a B or a high C, right?
Right.
Somebody that's been on stuff and that's done things and has its credits and stuff. And you wouldn't get that. You would, with Star Trek, it's like, I think Patrick Stewart hadn't done anything on television.
No. No, he was
Can
all
you
about
imagine?
Shakespeare and plays and stuff like that.
He
Yeah,
had done nothing on television.
that's
William
right.
Shatner had done stuff. He did Bonanza. He did,
Mm.
the famous
Twilight
Twilight Zone
Zone.
episodes and stuff, and other things here and there. But he did a $6 Million Man episode, which was great. But other than that, that was it. And Avery, I don't even know what he's done. I know
Well,
he was
he
obviously
was
he was in the
he
cop
was
show.
he was Hawk.
He was Hawk in what was that
Spencer for
show?
Hire.
Spencer for Hire. Spencer.
I love that show.
Yeah, great show. But again, he wasn't the lead. He
Right.
wasn't in every episode. He would show up every once in a while, and he was also disguised.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like he was.
Yeah.
It wasn't like he came out and you like saying, "Oh, that's that guy from." It was. You had to really know Spencer for Hire,
Right.
and you had to really understand that that's the guy from Spencer for Hire because you like Spencer for Hire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like George would have known that. I didn't.
Yeah.
I forgot.
Yeah.
Like I watched Spencer for Hire, but I totally forgot about that. I did not even think about it until George had mentioned.
I actually, and the only reason because again, I love the program, and you're talking about this is what 80s, right? This was in the 80s,
Mhm.
and I loved his character. I actually,
Great, tough character. Yeah,
I love that tough guy. He shows up and he's a bodyguard type guy. I liked his character. So when when I saw him on Star Trek, I was like, whoa, I was shocked.
So it was interesting, and he was the lead there. And again, he wasn't a household name, and I think that it draws people in. When what's her name, Catherine? When
Kate Mulgrew.
Kate, when she took over, for Voyager, she was also a theater actress. She had done some stuff, but not household name. So I think that brings a certain mystery to the show, and Star Trek is all about mystery. It's all about the unknown. It's about exploring unknowns. Yep. So if you come out and you see an episode, and if they bring a character in, and a new Star Trek, and they hire, I don't know, Timothy Chalamet or something, somebody really famous, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's sort of like, well, that's, you know what I mean? It's like, and I mean that would not happen, but it's like that it loses its appeal because now we're watching it because of him. We're not watching it because of the purpose of what Star Trek was, which was about the episodes and the stories, and the writing and the acting and those kinds of things. So that was interesting thing. But going back to this episode, as he grows older, he realizes his planet is dying, and it leads to eventually. Anyway, you watch the episode, but despite that, he embraces his life on Catan, cherishing the moments of happiness and love that he experiences, which I think is beautiful because you have to really love Star Trek to appreciate how happy we were for him, that even though he did not have the wife and the kids in the present time, he was able to experience what that felt like. And now in his life, it made him a better person. It made him a better captain. It made him more, I think, empathetic, to other people that had kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think his relationship with Wesley was better because he understood what it was like to be young and to have kids and to raise kids. Because whether he did it or not, and it was only in a 25-minute period that he was actually unconscious, he lived a whole life. It doesn't matter. In his reality, he lived that whole life. Every day he woke up, went to sleep, had a wife, had kids, and lived a life and learned to play the recorder. And he learned to play the recorder, right?
Yes.
He learned to play that while he was there, his little flute.
And that's one of the things I loved about it also, and that I related to. That was his getaway.
It was.
Because during the episode, when you watch the episode, he would sit there and just play. Just play, even when he had a friend over and the friend's sitting there watching him. And he says, "You've been brooding behind that thing all night." And what was his answer? He looked at me, he says, "I'm immersed in my music."
Right.
And he would just sit there and play because that was the way it helped him think, and it helped him process.
And as musicians, I also think that it was his connection to his real world. Because music transcends everything. It's different cultures. I mean, we can go anywhere on earth. Every single civilization that's ever lived has had music as something, has had some type of music. And so that connects him almost to his past life, and it
Hmm.
was something that he could bring with him. He wasn't never sure if he was going to come back to this life again. He kind of forgot it after a while because he
That's
started
right.
living this other life in Katana, and he didn't really he wasn't Picard anymore.
Yeah.
He wasn't Picard. So this recorder and this flute exercise was sort of his connection to what
Hmm.
was, and maybe subconsciously, if he does go back to that life and he can still play, then it really happened.
Right.
You see, because
Yes.
learning to play an instrument takes time. It takes
Yes.
patience. It takes practice. It takes a commitment. And in order to play it well, which he got to play it well towards the end, you need to have that discipline.
Yep.
So he was able to actually, and spoiler alert, I mean, again, this show is not really, well, I don't know. This is our last episode of, of Star Trek. Not really. We'll talk more about it, but you know, he was able to bring that back, and that's why that it was that wonderful scene at the end,
Yeah.
where he's like, he has this recorder. It's sort of like it's we can liken it to like going to sleep and pretending that you're playing the drums or guitar, and that you're learning how to play it, and you're learning how to play it, and you're struggling, and you finally get to play, and you get to play in a as professional as you can play, and play it well enough to be considered a professional,
Right.
and then waking up from a dream and actually having that ability, where it's like, wow, I was actually asleep when I did this, but I actually did learn it. So was that real? Was this real? Is this real now? Is this a dream? Was that a dream? What was real?
Yeah.
We don't know. And that was just a wonderful the escapism of that episode was able
Yes.
that you were able to kind of dive into it and kind of lose yourself in that idea, and then relate it to yourself to some way,
Right.
relate
Right.
it to yourself, like, is this my real life? Was that my real life? Or you start thinking of past situations in your life where you were involved in something, and then that kind of went away, and now you go back and you're like, oh, I remember that. Did that really happen? Or
Right.
why did I stop? That kind of
Right.
thing. And it ties you in, and it really ropes you in the
It
episode
does.
for
It
me anyway.
does.
Again, I've seen it many times, and I was trying to watch it this week again, but with the power stuff and all that, and just the distractions, I didn't get a chance to sit in and watch it again. But I've watched it so many times that it's just a wonderful escapism
Yeah.
episode, and there are some of those in Star Trek, more in Next Generation than
Yes.
anything
Yeah.
else. But they
And I
also,
think that's why I like it because
yeah,
of that. I think there's those weird episodes that
yeah, the ones that
just
they use in the holodeck and stuff like that,
yeah, yeah, like
where
the holodeck or the ones where they encounter something and they're looping and they're,
they're looping.
all
Yeah,
these weird
yeah,
episodes that
they have
I
these weird anomaly.
and they put these characters into these weird situations.
Yeah,
And I think that's why, the funny thing about it is, and again, not to, I'm not going into where everything started, but when Next Generation started, I hated it. And
yeah, because remember
because
those
it
first
wasn't
two seasons
right. It wasn't
were written by or brought to you by
by Gene
the
Roddenberry.
founder, but yeah, by the founder of the whole thing.
Yeah,
And I think he had an idea of something that worked in the 60s,
correct.
but it's not going to work in the 80s.
Correct. And that's why after he died, they kind of changed it and they said,
Yeah.
okay, we need to, do this.
And to their
But
credit, I think they did the right thing. And I think his
yeah,
son was also now involved as well.
yeah, no, agreed. And then but again, as I gave it a chance and I watched it, then I found myself kind of like immersed in it. As the seasons, like you said, the seasons got better, and I was like, oh, this is good. This is good. And
Yeah.
now I go back and again, obviously seeing all the different series that have come out, then I go back and I look at all the series and I say, you know what? I really enjoyed Next Generation stories. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
find myself that's the one series that I can go back to and watch those stories again and still enjoy them. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So, but going back to the episode for a second, another thing that he experienced. And again, obviously the music was a part of it, having the children was a part of it, but also having this deep love for this woman
Yes.
who he had no idea that he was who she was when he woke up. And now I mean, think about that for a second, right?
Yeah.
You're married to this woman. You have no idea you're married to this woman. And now you literally have to fall in love with this woman. But credit to this woman who was incredible in the story.
Oh yeah.
She stayed by him through the entire time. Okay. And even when he looked like he was crazy and he was saying all these crazy things and trying to get back to the ship and talking about the starship, she stood by him. And she said, yeah, you're dreaming about your starship again. You're dreaming about this. And then she says, but she's so patient through the whole thing. But she tells him, when are you going to come back here?
Right.
And be with me? And that's when he kind of gets it. He goes, yeah, you know what?
Yeah, you're right.
I need to be here.
I need to be present.
And I need to be present. So, and he falls in love with her. He falls in love with her to the point where, again, spoiler alert, she ends up dying in the episode. And you could see his genuine heartache when this woman that he loved so much through all these years and had kids and all this, that he now he has a sense of loss that he never had in his other life.
Right.
Again, changing him as a person.
Yeah.
So I thought that was fascinating.
That was great. Yeah. And his wife was played by Michelle Forbes, is the actress's name.
Michelle Forbes.
Yeah, Michelle
Really?
Forbes. Same actress who later showed up in Babylon 5, Homicide, Life on the Street, and Battlestar Galactica.
Let me ask you a question. Who played Ensign Rowe?
Ensign Rowe. Let's find out. Keep talking.
But yeah, she was a great actress, and she just she was very calm in this episode. She was very calm and very understanding through everything.
Michelle Forbes.
Right?
Michelle Forbes. Let me see something. Hold on.
You sure that's the same? You sure that's unless they have the same name?
And Ford, same actress. So Michelle Forbes played Ensign Rowe Lauren on Star Trek: Next Generation. Same actress played Aline.
But that's not her.
Right.
That's not Ensign Rowe.
Yeah, well, that's what the.
Then they have that wrong.
Yeah, it's ChatGPT.
Well, ChatGPT.
So it's
because Michelle. Ro Laren. I know Ro Laren. She was in Next Generation. She was in.
Are you sure it wasn't her with makeup?
No, she's just way different.
Okay. Are you sure?
How about just Googling it?
Well, this draws from Google, so.
Yeah, well, it's stupid.
Oh, it says good catch. So hold on one second. The thing is that I can't because my.
Listen, this is not amateur hour. You're dealing with me now.
I know. That's why I'm glad. I'm glad because I'm like, because I don't know. I would have.
Dealing with a mental case.
Ensign Rowe was played by Michelle Forbes,
right?
But Aline was played by Margaret Rose.
Ah, there we go. Now,
yeah.
Okay.
Margot Rose.
Margot Rose. Okay. Yeah, she was great. She was great.
Yeah.
She had a calmness to her. She, very understanding, very just, think about what somebody else would have gone through with him and said, you know what, I'm tired of this. I can't live my life this way.
Yeah.
You need to do this or I'm gone, Stuck with him the whole time.
Can we just talk for a second about what a piece of shit
YouTube?
ChatGPT is?
Oh, ChatGPT
and AI. YouTube. Because think about it for a second. Here's a ChatGPT knows it, right? Scours the internet for. I asked it a simple question.
Exactly
right. It should draw right from there, right? But no, it took George Batista, who knew it wasn't that person. So again, AI is just not the thing. I'm
not impressed. I'm sorry.
You can use it to better your marketing.
Yeah.
Maybe get more stuff out. Maybe do some editing things here and there. But for it to actually be this big tool, look what a piece of shit it is. It couldn't even tell me the actress that played his wife in this episode. It gave me a completely different person that if it not for George, you would have given like bad information. And this is what happens out there, right? You talk about misinformation,
Yeah.
you know. I mean, how much misinformation is this stupid thing giving to everybody? Not to mention the Googles and then liars that are out there just posting lies, you know. So,
Well, look at look at Wikipedia. I
oh, well,
mean,
Wikipedia could be updated by anyone.
exactly. I could go into Wikipedia and say that,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah. So, what chance does it have?
I know.
Nothing. Nothing.
Oh,
So,
by the way, it's just a separate thing. If one of the same thing of that, right? If you put my show on ChatGPT or whatever, one of those things, it actually says, "Oh, George Batista's Wellness Talk, blah blah blah, has this guests have been this one, this one." It had one guest that I've never had on the show.
oh yeah,
Because
oh, yeah,
I played a clip of that person on my
yeah,
show, but it actually said that they were a guest on my show.
yeah, yeah. Well, I caught something funny because I had the same kind of thing, and it said once that I was as an actor that I was in that I
That you were in The Sopranos.
that I that I played Larry Bird in a film. No, that I played Andrew Jackson, the president, in a thing, and I was like, wait a minute. So I went to my IMDb.
Is that because you have those those clothes from
Maybe
that
I don't
period?
know, but I went back to Andrew Jackson, and it was a long time ago, and actually
Right.
it did have it in my IMDb. That I
Really?
Yeah, and I was like, and I had requested it to be taken down, but it's still on there. So I'm like,
So where did you
so
play Andrew Jackson?
I mean, it was a thing that wasn't even shot anywhere where I was living, so it was definitely not me.
What if you get work because of it?
I know, right? I mean, I've played things that I forgot I did.
Right.
You know what I
I
mean?
know.
And that happens, you know. But I would remember Andrew Jackson. He goes, "Were you the one that played that short Andrew Jackson?" Because Andrew Jackson was like, I could see if I was playing John Adams. John Adams was short.
Sure. Right.
Uh, um, what's his name? Benjamin Franklin was a short stature man, but like Thomas Jefferson, huge guy, tall guy.
On your IMDb, it says you played Abe Lincoln.
Yeah. Oh my God. 4 score and 7 equals away. Um.
Oh. Yeah. So yeah, that's crap.
So yeah. So anyway, I just in recent weeks, you know, I've run into a lot of things on it, and you know, we talk a lot about here Star Trek, and we talk a lot about technology, obviously, because you know it's so advanced, all the stuff. But there's one thing that all these episodes show that the future actually still has, and that is humanity, and that is people actually engaging with people. Where
Right.
it seems like the technology right now is really focused on trying to remove humanity from interacting with one another and just have robots do all the stuff.
Correct.
Have it do the cleaning, the cooking, the communication. The You wear glasses, you know, these dumbass Ray-Ban things that they have that, you know, $500. You have all your computers and everything out in your head, so you're walking around and you're seeing screens and calls are coming in. I mean, what are you, nuts? Who would get the? I mean, I know Silicon Valley, everybody's walking around with these things. It's an embarrassment. It's so not cool anymore to have technology on your face. In my opinion, and it's becoming less and less cool. Like what we talked about earlier. But I think
Yes.
before we went on the show, I think there's a lot of technology now that people are kind of looking at and being like, I want to just talk to a human now, you know, and I want to kind
Yeah.
of like interact with. I think the younger people are kind of getting sick with it. They were raised on it, you know,
Right.
they were raised on it, and it's like now they want to kind of go see people. They want to kind of go out. It's human nature to want to interact with other humans.
Correct. And this is it's funny. I was talking about this with somebody the other day, and some guy podcasts I listen to and stuff like that. And they, you think about it, you see these young generations when they're talking about it. It goes, look, these generations, first of all, don't know how to they don't know a time without having the world in their hand. right?
Right.
So they don't know of a time where they could just click a button and have anything. Okay, not only any information, but anything delivered to them at any given time. All right. So, which also is, in my view, is a problem, because then it's like, well, I have everything here. Why do
What's
I
wrong?
need to go? Why do I need to go out and X, Y, and
Why do I
Z?
need to learn anything?
Exactly. Why do I need to learn? Why do I need to go out and work? Why do I need to actually work hard and do things? Because I got it all right here.
Right.
Okay. And that's a problem.
And it's really making everyone, we talk a lot about Star Trek. Also, some people talk about it because of socialism, right?
Right.
It seems like Star Trek could be considered a socialist planet where money is no longer needed,
Right.
right? And people are just produce, and we're that system doesn't really work. Like, if Star Trek got anything wrong, I would have to say that it probably would be in that realm, only because one person that works extremely hard and should make a lot more money than one person who just doesn't really want to work and wants to just kind of lay low and just chill out. Well, in that universe, and maybe the education system is what they're counting on, that it educated everyone into the fact
Yeah.
that their morals are higher and they want to be productive, and there's no homelessness and there's no whatever. But I think that with technology, this technology that we currently have here, what it's doing is leveling the playing field in a way where everyone should get exactly the same thing,
Right.
which is not really a correct thing.
Right.
It's like you should be the value of your the value of what you get should be equal to what you put in, whether
Right.
that's in living life, whether that's in inventing,
Mhm.
artistic in your creation, whatever it is. That's the level. So if you play this hard and you work this hard, you get that amount. It shouldn't be like I work this hard, we all get the same thing, because it's not going to motivate anyone to want to excel, to become a captain.
Right.
Why is he the captain? What did he do harder? He must have been rewarded at some point. So
Yes.
the fact that we're talking about money is okay. Maybe financial stuff there's no, but there is reward for excel in something,
Correct. Correct.
right? You
But
do better in life.
in order for that to even happen in the world, right? It would have to have happened the way and Star Trek kind of in a way explains it when you really know the
World
history of
War
it.
Three, right?
Correct. Because remember, there was a third world war which pretty much destroyed most of the planet, and
Right,
they literally had to start from scratch.
right,
So, but think about it, John. Let's say you completely decimate the planet. There's only a certain number of people that survive this thing, and then they have to start all over, right? Do you start exactly the same way? Or
right.
do you look at the experiment that was the world and do you
Yeah.
say, let's do this a different way now?
Depending on who it is.
Right, depending on who it is. But in the Star Trek world, that's what they did. They said,
Yeah.
okay, we're going to start this over, but
Yeah.
we're going to make it where how to be the education system is completely different now, because now you are no longer being educated to, you know, to gain financial this and financial that. It was all about the betterment of myself. Everybody was into personal development in Star Trek, right?
Right.
Everybody wants to better themselves and better humanity.
Correct.
So, and that's the driving force of the Star Trek universe, is that you do things for the betterment of humanity.
Yeah, and if that's educated, if that's put into the education system and kids are educated with that in mind early on,
Right.
then you start thinking, well, yeah, and then it could happen,
Because then it passes down.
because it passes down and people are, and if, if you look at certain things like even countries we have now, like Japan, and, they have a very strict education system, right?
Right.
Kids go to school, like, I think the whole year long, there's no like break or anything, here, summer break, and then there's Christmas break, fall break, spring break, winter break. There's all these breaks, and it's a little bit different. And
Yeah.
plus, everything's taken out. Like the art has been cut. Art
Yeah.
funding's been out. Gym is like sometimes 15, 20 minutes at some of these places. It's a tragedy. So we are not on that track of whatever it is that they created. And
Right.
then we have these phones that, there's this thing going around with Steve Jobs. Well, he did famously say, do not hand your kids an iPad. It would be
Yeah.
there
There's
would
a
be the
reason
demise.
why he said
The
that,
reason,
right?
yeah. And there's a guy who invented the damn thing, and the guy from
Exactly.
Google said the same thing too, and a few other technology guys say, don't give it to them until a certain age.
Well, the guy who invented what's that messaging platform?
Yeah, Telegram.
Telegram
Yeah,
doesn't have a smartphone.
no, he doesn't have a smartphone. He invented it,
Right.
and he's like, what are you gonna do? He says he gets his messages. He's a billionaire, so it's easy for him to
He's
get
got
messages.
somebody
Right,
giving him his messages,
right.
right?
Exactly. Somebody's got to be out there giving him messages. But yeah, it's and it's back like when we had just a telephone. And George remember this. George and I are old enough to remember just a regular phone. And we have a unique perspective where we grew up with only phones, where George would call my house, and if I wasn't there, my grandmother would say, "No está aquí,"
Yeah.
and he would say, "Okay, bye," and that would be it. And
Right.
then I get home, and then she'll tell me George called, and then I get on the phone and I call George, and then we get on the phone and we talk smack for whatever, an hour. We talk Star Trek, kind of like what we're doing now, or music or something, and then we would have to plan. Hey, you
Yeah.
coming over? Yeah, I'll be there at this time, and then I'd have to leave. And if my train is delayed and I'm stuck on a train, he doesn't know where I'm at.
I have no
He
idea.
can't call me, and I can't text him that I'm running late. He
Right.
just, and then when I get there, finally an hour later than normal, I tell him, "Yeah, the train. I was stuck on a train, or there was no train coming, or there was
Yeah.
a shooting."
Right. Or
Right.
I couldn't tell him that I broke my leg.
Right. Right. That day that I went over to your house. I mean, you could have, but it was like, what are you gonna do? Just call on the phone for that? We didn't call for that. You knew
No.
I was coming the next day to play basketball, and you're there with your crutches without telling me that you broke your leg. So, that's what happened. It's just that's just the way it was. And today, kids don't really understand that. Even
Right.
in relationships now, my wife, like, she'll call me and stuff, and I'm like in the middle of it. What happened? Why didn't you pick up? I was like, you just called me like 10 minutes ago. It's like I wasn't like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Right.
I use the bathroom. Sometimes I get into a conversation with somebody. Sometimes I talk to humans outside.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And then when that happens, I'm taken away from the devices. I am looking at abandoning all of it. It
I
is a
like
plan.
it.
Everything, and we are looking at doing that at some point. And yeah, and I don't have any big losses from it. Again, the connection that I have with it is with my family. Like I mentioned before we went on the air,
Right.
George and I were talking. Friends. Seeing my nieces and nephew growing up and stuff. I think that's a key thing, and that's what I like. I like that. But this whole thing of whatever it is, and I'm actually, and this is some of the work that I'm doing. I'm involved in it. I need it for marketing purposes.
Right.
It's very inexpensive to market, and we just did a thing, marketed a thing. Somebody was like $240, and we had like 130 people sign up for something. 40 people came in, and it was like an amazing thing. It was $200. You know how in the old days to get flyers, to put the flyers out, to put an ad in the paper, it would be way more than $200. So that was
That's right.
nothing.
That's right.
And so there is this benefit of this marketing thing that you can utilize it for that. So not to knock it as a tool to market a product. And by the way, this is something that's been happening now along, for about, I don't know, I'll say maybe a couple of years now. But brands are now hiring storytellers, filmmakers, creators. They're not hiring marketing companies outside to make their commercials and social media platform. They're bringing them in-house.
That's right.
I did a whole show on this on my morning show, and I talked about how their brands now, popular brands that we all know, like the Gap, bringing in their own studios, and there will come a time. Mark my word here. I'm marking it right here on February 1st, 2026. There will be a time when a company like Kellogg's, or General Mills will actually be the entity behind an Academy Award winning nominated film. There will be a time, because I
Interesting.
guarantee you that these actors, these filmmakers and creators that are in these films, I mean, in these platforms now, and are going to be sucked in to these brands, because they're going to pay them very well. They're going to be able to work with the cameras and do whatever, and do their own films if they want to on the side, and use the equipment and whatever benefits or that you can get from being part of it, as long as that you're meeting their bottom line, and you're meeting the expectations, and you're putting stuff out there, in mass numbers. They're going to
Right.
utilize it, and they're building these brands. By the way, I mean, these brands are building these film studios, and they're going to have their own film studio, their own guy that runs a film company within Target, within Walmart, within, and the brands. And how many brands are there? Thousands and thousands, brands that you and I don't even know.
Right.
That's how many brands. And we're talking about popular brands that maybe we don't know, or maybe are not popular to us. But here's the way that they're doing it. With verticals, you know what verticals are?
Yeah.
So verticals are $1 billion business already in China, Japan, billions for years. People have been watching verticals. Vertical is basically a 90-minute film chopped up into 90 seconds.
Right.
And every day or every other day, you release an episode, and people just are waiting for that minute and a half of the content. So imagine, and this is my own kind of like interpretation, but imagine a family sitcom style vertical based around Kellogg's cereals and products. So now we're watching a comedy, a family interact with each other, but on the table is a box of cornflakes. When they're doing their thing, they're pouring cornflakes. When they're doing their other thing, they're drinking the drinks that are produced by the same company. Um, they have all the brand. They're actually using it within that, and they're promoting it. They're putting it out. They're putting all their hashtags attached to Kellogg's and everything else, and it's coming out on their platforms. Where are people going to go to watch this sitcom? Watch the next episode of this funny show. It's gonna be like that. So this episode turned out to be a little different, but not really, because I mean, I think with the episode, the technology, and the fact that Picard went into this town that had no technology whatsoever.
That's right.
Into where he came from, when it had the highest level of technology at that time that you can get to. And those two things, and he lived a tremendously happy life, fulfilled life, having no technology whatsoever.
Right.
Right. And then he went back to his normal life, where he had all the technology in the world, and now he had to go back to, fighting the Borg. So that's, it's like, what's the greater good,
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I agree. I mean, at the end of the day, and I think that episode is also a little bit of a metaphor for it. And when you say that, right, because no matter what, you can put as much technology, and even Elon Musk talked about it the other day when he said he thinks there's going to be more robots than people, but you can do as much technology as you
He's
want.
a robot. That's why he said.
Well, yeah, well, that too, but it's still the human connection.
Correct.
The human connection is the number one
and
thing.
art.
And art, right.
And what was the one thing that linked those two worlds of Picard's?
Yeah, there was music. That's right. That's
the
right.
only thing that came over.
And the creative process, whether it's music or whatever it is, and then having that that person to person human connection. So again, I'm not surprised that, like he went back to having zero technology and having to make a life through zero technology. I think that eventually at some point, a lot of people, there's going to be a big movement in where people go back to that. I mean, you're starting to see it now. I think there's going to be more and more too, because I think people are realizing that, the human connection and art and creativity and all that, and actually thinking and actually sitting there and being bored and actually having those creative juices that today, because we're so distracted, we don't have.
Yep.
I think that that's actually going, and when that does happen, by the way, when it starts to really happen on a big scale, I think art is going to change, because you're actually going to see creativity
Right.
to the massive scale that you saw like in the 60s and 70s with
Right.
film and even music, you know.
And nowadays, if people have to ask, was this AI? Your art as
Yeah.
is really just, it's even more important now. What
Yep.
you create with a pen and paper, with your instrument, whatever it is so important now. You know, because that question, was this AI, is demeaning to the art, and but helpful to the artist, to the
Right.
true artist,
Right.
because now you can go around saying this is not AI, this is
Yep.
me, I did this. Like I wrote a film called Not Our Time, which I'm going to be shooting this year, this one right here. And
Nice.
AI can't come up with this as a story, because the way I write very conversational. AI has no ability to have conversation. As a matter of fact, there's a guy on TikTok who does these hilarious videos, and I don't know if you've seen them, George, but I don't think you're on that
I'm not
platform.
on
I
TikTok.
think he's also on Instagram too, but
Okay.
I'll send you a couple of them because they are very funny. Where he's auditioning AI actors. So there's actors, and he's auditioning them. So he says, "Okay, so in this," and it's sort of like a mock thing, like he's really talking to them, but
Right.
everything that you see is prompted by him to
Mm.
give him what he's looking for, and they cannot deliver. They
Really.
cannot deliver. They don't have emotions. They don't have subtleties. They don't have uh, um, innuendos. They don't have these intricate looks, and you know what I mean. They just don't have that ability to 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 put that together, because that takes a human understanding. That takes a spiritual understanding. And so it's like you'll tell them, okay, so I want you to be an actor. I want you to This is a role that you're going to be very frightened about something, and they're like, I am very excited for this role. Thank you so much for this role. This is exciting. I will do a good job for you, I promise. And then the guy's like, okay, great. I don't need you to be so weird, but yeah. So just pretend like you're somebody that saw something, you got scared, and now and then you scream really loud. Okay, great. Oh no, it can't scream.
Really.
Every single one that he used cannot scream. I'm gonna send you that one because it's
Okay.
hilarious.
Okay.
Not only he's sort of like going like, just scream.
Right.
You can't, and it was like, no, it can't scream. It doesn't. It has no reference to screaming, because screaming. Think about what screaming is for a second. It's an individualized voice of a noise that makes no sense.
Right.
So your scream is completely different than my scream. So
Right.
what does AI do? It grabs everything all together and puts it and makes references based on what's out there already. So if you have thousands and thousands of screaming, and it's trying to put together one scream, it can't process that.
Right.
It can't process the scream. So it's very, very interesting. Very, very
It
interesting.
it's also going back to when you were talking about the actor doing the little nuances and those things. It's also the great actors who do the thing on the spot
Yeah.
because they feel it,
Yeah.
right?
It's
And
in
maybe
the
it's not
eye.
written. It's right.
Yeah.
It's not written. I was watching
Right.
what's his name? He played Bob Dylan.
Oh,
You mentioned him.
Timothy
Chalamet, his name is,
Chalamet. Yeah.
right? Okay, they were interviewing him. So I was. He was talking about how how he got into it and what he was doing. So there's a scene where he's in the hospital, and who was it that was? Oh, Woody Guthrie is laying in bed, and he's singing to Woody Guthrie. So he has his guitar, and he's singing the song. Now, this is actually him singing, so there's no overdubs on this, right? So he had to sing like Bob Dylan. But what was interesting in that whole thing is that he did something in that scene that was not written. So
Mm,
there was one part of the song towards the end where he holds the note for literally like the whole bar before he ends the song.
mm,
And they were talking to the director, and the director was like, they asked him, he says, they asked him, they said, why did you hold the note? He goes, I just felt like it was, I just came. I just felt like
yeah,
that was perfect for that
that's
spot.
humanity.
And right. And the director was like, he goes, that's genius. He goes,
Yeah,
that's just on the spot creating genius
yeah,
right there.
yeah.
And that's what we left it in
Right,
purposely because it was perfect. But
right.
that's the thing that you're not going to get from
No,
that stuff,
no,
you
no.
know?
And I think of also another scene, a scene that has only one person speaking and one person reacting.
Right.
See, AI doesn't know how to react uniquely.
Mm-hmm.
If you say be angry, that's how AI is going to do it because that's what
Right.
angry is, right?
Right.
But there's a scene, there's two things. There's one scene in The Irishman
Mm-hmm.
when uh, De Niro and Pesci are at a table, and Sebastian Maniscalco, the comedian,
Mm-hmm.
he plays Joey Gatto in that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he comes through and he's kind of insults the Joe Pesci character, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he leaves, and then De Niro sits down in front of him after he leaves and stuff, and he takes a drink, and Joe Pesci takes a drink. He takes a drink and he looks at me and he goes, and he does something with his face that just conveys that guy has got to be taken down.
Right.
He
Right.
didn't say one word, and then they pan to De Niro. He doesn't say anything. He
Right.
says, "I got it."
Yeah.
You knew it
Yeah.
immediately. The first time I saw it, I knew it. I was like, "Oh, that guy is gone." That look. Another scene is a classic from Silence of the Lambs when Anthony Hopkins is talking to Jodie Foster and she's outside of the prison,
Mm-hmm.
and he starts saying stuff to her, and she's trying to be really confident at that moment,
Yes. Yeah.
but he breaks down a wall
Right.
of her security. He starts breaking it down,
Right.
and her facial expression, and it's in the eyebrows and it's in the eyes. She starts losing it, and
Right.
she doesn't say one word. This is why she won an Academy Award, right?
Right. Right.
But she starts losing something like some confidence. It's only in her eyes and in her eyebrow.
Yes. Yeah.
There's no way that AI could ever do that. They're not going to do that. They're just going to be like, they're going to overact. They're going to, they don't have any reference because there is nothing to reference.
Exactly.
There's nothing online that can be referenced to. You can prompt it all you want, but there's nothing it's going to pull from because
Right.
there's nothing there.
Yes.
It's empty space. It's just Jodie Foster's expression. So
Yeah.
it's like maybe in 100 years, the prompting will be so good that the robots will be able to do it. But as of right now, it is horrible.
You know who was really good at that? And going back to Star Trek for a second, Kate Mulgrew in as Janeway.
She's a
She was
brilliant.
brilliant actress. But what she was really good at was she had to like discipline somebody because they did something, right? Whether it was Tuvok or something. She's really, blah, blah, blah. But then when that person walks out of the room, her facial expression changes to like,
Oh, that was
I
hard.
can't believe I did that.
Right. But
I
I had
can't,
to do it.
or
Right.
like I was holding this in,
Right.
and now, and her eyebrows, like all of a sudden she becomes empathetic with
Yes.
just where her eyebrows and her eyes. And if you ever like really studied it, because I watched her a lot in those scenes, and I'm like, wow, she was really good at that because you could tell I didn't want to do this,
Right.
but I had to
And
do
you don't
this.
have to write it.
Right. Exactly.
You don't have to write it. And that's the problem with AI. If it was written, I'm so upset that I did that or something,
Right.
you know what I mean? But you can't. It's not written. It's just literally the glance, the look,
Yes.
the eyebrows, that subtlety, the humanity.
Yes.
It's just the humanity. And AI will never be human. and it will replace a lot of things. Don't get me wrong. It
Yeah.
will replace a lot of things. It will replace a lot of jobs, which it's already doing. But it will not replace humanity in film
Right.
for quite some time.
Agreed.
For quite some time. And people out there, they're probably thinking like it will do it sooner than you think. Maybe that's the case. But as of right now, where it stands, the highest level of stuff I've seen, garbage. You are
Agreed.
just garbage. All right. All right,
Hey.
yeah, we've gone over the hour here. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. We'll be back next week as always. The John Henry Soto Show. It is here. We are not going anywhere. Uh, please make sure you follow George Batista and Wellness Talk. He does a great show there. He's got a lot of expanding things on there. If you want to know about supplements, if you want to know how to live your life healthy, George Batista, please watch him. And we will see you all next week here. I will see you all tomorrow morning on my show, 7 a.m. And take care of yourselves. God bless you all. Take care of each other, please. And as always, peace.